Okay, I think it's set up. Oh, okay. Got it. Got it! Yay! Okay. I'm sorry I'm late. I thought I had it figured out on my laptop, and I really didn't. So, I didn't realize I had to download something. So, yeah, that happened. But, okay, I figured it out. We're good. I'm back on my phone, so next week I will use a webcam and maybe look more professional. Wow, my room is messy. That's great. Okay. I hope your week was great. What did I do? I worked and I was sick, so that was fun. This week I wanted to talk about anxiety. Put sobriety on pause for just a second. Why anxiety? Because I've been anxious all week, so the topic kind of picked itself. Ay. Only downside to the webcam is I won't drop my phone. I mean, I'll drop the webcam. Goddamn. Okay, so anxiety. Why anxiety this week? Well, like I said, fucking anxiety attacks all week. It's been, just being sick and being stuck with my own head. Oh my god, what? I'm just glad this week is over. So now we're in my corner. Welcome to my corner in my messy room. We're just gonna hang out and talk about anxiety, which is super, super fun. I know. Hi, baby. My kitty just came. Okay, anxiety. This is a huge topic that can be covered in multiple TED Talks, multiple everything, and I could talk about this all day, every day, for years, and I feel like it would never, ever be completely covered, because anxiety is ever-changing. It is constant, different from person to person, and that's kind of why it sucks so much, but also why it's important to talk about it. So anxiety, I was diagnosed in January of 2015. I was a sophomore in college, and up until that point, I knew I struggled with depression, never had the official diagnosis, and then I got the official diagnosis of anxiety and depression. How did I get diagnosed? Well, I woke up one day, and for some reason, I felt like I couldn't breathe, and then I was stuck in bed all weekend, and not like I'm tired and I'm just in bed, but I remember those 3 days as being physically painful. It hurt to get up, and I wasn't sick, I wasn't anything. Physically hurt to get up and go brush my teeth, to change into pajamas. I didn't really sleep, I barely ate, and my mind was racing, but I wasn't thinking about anything. My heart was racing, but I wasn't doing anything. And I just felt paralyzed. And I made an appointment to see my counselor, who recommended I go see the doctor, which was a good call. And she gave me there are these assessment sheets with questions. I'm sure you've seen them in the health office, or doctor's office. It's like a bunch of questions about depression, like how have you thought about killing yourself in the last 2 weeks? Yes, no, or every day, some days, half days, not at all. And you answer a bunch of these generic questions, and then there's one for anxiety, and you add up the score, and then it tells you like moderate depression, severe, da-da-da. I was through the roof for depression and anxiety. The anxiety one threw me for a loop. Depression, I was like, yeah, I saw that coming. But anxiety, I was shocked. I was like, what are you me anxious? What are you talking about? I was genuinely shocked by that diagnosis. But I was started on Paxil, and that was where my journey with anxiety started. It probably started way before that, but I just had no idea. And I guess in college I kind of just snapped, Whatever, shit happens. So what is anxiety? I have been thinking about this all day. How the fuck do you define anxiety? I thought about grabbing like a definition from the dictionary or something, and I'm like, that's stupid. And anxiety basically, it's it's an experience. I think is the best way to put it. It is an experience that varies from person to person. It is like a t-shirt. That it's the same t-shirt, you can put it on 8 different people. The t-shirt doesn't change, but it fits everybody differently. And that's why anxiety is so complicated. It is one way for somebody, it's one way for another, and another way to look at it is, for me, in my experience, anxiety, it's like feeling like you're drowning, but there's no water. You're running from fire, but there's no smoke. The world is ending, but you're perfectly fine. You're suffocating, but you're on oxygen. It doesn't really make sense. Even when it makes sense, it doesn't make sense. It's overwhelming. It takes your breath away, sometimes physically. It can basically trap you in your home. And some people feel it differently in their places. Sometimes they feel it in their chest. Some people get headaches. I feel mine in my gut. That's where mine is. I feel nauseous. I lose my appetite. And I think one of the best analogies I came up for, literally right before this stream, is it's like if you have a superpower, and then anxiety is like a superpower booster. It's like you have pneumonia, and then anxiety is like sepsis. You have an ear infection? Would you also like lung cancer? Like, anxiety by itself is a disorder. But in my experience, and again, I am not a professional. I have a psych degree, which means nothing. Okay, I have no training. This is just my personal experience and opinions. But in my experience, anxiety is often secondary to another mental illness. And I have seen it most often coupled with depression. There's depression, and it goes hand in hand with anxiety. And that's the thing with anxiety. It goes hand in hand with so many different mental illnesses that it's sometimes hard to differentiate, which is why it's a relatively new concept, I think. And I think that's why so many people struggle with it, because it's so closely tangled with things like depression, OCD, ADD, bipolar. There are so many different mental illnesses that have elements of anxiety that are hard to weed out. And I feel really anxious right now talking about it. So, anxiety doesn't always look the way you think it looks. I'm sitting here, smiling, I'm talking, I'm fumbling over my words a little, but inside, I kind of feel like a nuclear bomb is going off every 5 seconds. But I'm like, okay, we're going through it, like, we're gonna talk about it, because this is important, and as much as I want to turn off the stream and just pretend it never happened, we're gonna power through it. And you know what? Anxiety is fucking cringy, but if you're cringing, guess how hard I'm cringing? Like 10 times more. So, today, what I wanted to go through were couple different points about anxiety. So I try to define anxiety, but honestly, it is so difficult. It is so different for everybody. I can feel it one way, someone else will feel it another way, someone else will feel it another way, someone else will feel it another way, and I think at the end of the day, anxiety is however you define it, and however you define it is correct. No one can take that from you. I can say anxiety feels like this. You say anxiety looks like that. And you know what? We're both right. And I can never understand your definition. You can never understand mine. And you know what? It doesn't fucking matter. Your experience is your experience. Anxiety is anxiety. It's like a wild card in Cards Against Humanity. You fill it out. And it's right, no matter what. And, with anxiety being a relatively new mental illness, and the fact that it is a mental illness comes with so many complications all on its own. So I wanted to talk about some that were specific to anxiety that I've noticed, and I might miss a couple, but I have a couple that, like, my friends have talked to me about, some data I've collected, if you will. But the first thing, anxiety. I made note cards. Oh no, it's backwards! It's okay. It's invisible! But the problem with that is, I made note cards. I'm really proud of these, and they still smell like Sharpie. Oh my. They're invisible. they're invisible. Anxiety is invisible. With a broken ankle or a broken arm or a bruise, you can see it. I can see, oh, it's correct for you? Oh, thank God. It doesn't look correct for me, so it's fine. But it's invisible. But with a broken arm, you can see the arm looks fucked up. You can see the bruise. It's discolored. If someone needs stitches, you can see the cut. You can see the blood. You can see the injury. You understand why they're in pain. You understand the suffering because there's a visual. And with anxiety, there is no one visual. There's no picture of anxiety. It's the same thing that I talked about with being an alcoholic. We all have the stereotype, right? But I'm not that stereotype that you know of. But anxiety is invisible. You can't see it. You can't see my emotions. You can't see the anxiety attack that I'm having, and you never will. And that's why a lot of people think it's not real. And I get that. And that is a really, really hard stigma that people with all kinds of mental illnesses have to deal with. So that's one. Another problem is unexplainable. You just watched me stumble across definitions trying to explain it. It is so hard to put to words what you yourself sometimes don't understand. I feel like every anxiety attack I experience is different. And with that, I need a new vocabulary every time. But my energy is so drained from those anxiety attacks that I can't come up with a new vocabulary. I can't keep up with my anxiety attacks, and my vocabulary is not that big. I just don't have the energy or knowledge or ability to explain it sometimes. And, you know, another factor is in this world where you can get information in 3 seconds, you have Google. 3 seconds, boom, you can get whatever information you want. Talking to someone with anxiety, you know what, it's not going to take me 3 seconds to get from point A to point B. It might take me 10 minutes. And you know what, most people these days don't have that kind of patience. And it's not your fault. It's just we're a product of our generation. Or all generations, really. Technology. We're not patient people. And it's no one's fault. It's just a lot of people, they have this instinct to help. And a lot of their instinct looks like interrupting, trying to finish the thought, trying to engage. And that's not a bad thing. But if you really want to understand my anxiety, it might take me 10 minutes. And I'm being so generous when I say 10 minutes. So generous. I mean, it's probably more like 2 hours, if I'm being honest, to explain to you exactly what I'm thinking, because with anxiety, my train is not going from point A to point B. It is going from point A to Q to S to F to U to C to K to fuck this. And if you stick with me until we get to Z, we might get to an understanding, but no one can sit there for 2 hours in complete silence trying to understand. And me not being able to explain makes it even harder for someone to sit there, because we're naturally problem solvers. And I know people have good intentions, they want to sit and listen, but the reality is no one can sit for 2 hours in silence and listen the whole time. That's just reality. I know I can't. Another problem. People often just brush it aside. And here's how they do that. You're dramatic. You're overreacting. You're lying. You're told you're making it up. You're being dramatic. You're overreacting. I don't even know what to say to those sometimes, you know? You're told you're stupid. You're needy. Those are all things I have heard. Those are things people that I know have heard when they are feeling anxious. And the thing is, I'm not angry with people for saying these things to me. I'm not angry with people who don't understand. I'm not mad at you. I used to be, but I'm not, because if you haven't experienced anxiety yourself, you won't understand, and that's okay. And if you're here listening to this and you've never experienced it and you're trying to understand it, fucking kudos to you, dude. I will send you a nude. No, I won't. I mean, maybe. We'll see. But I completely understand why people say shit like this, because you fear what you don't know. And with fear comes a lot of hostility, and it might not necessarily be fear, not traditional fear, but fear like, I'm not able to help this person I care about, or I'm afraid that I might come off stupid because I don't understand, or fear that, I'm useless in this situation, and there's so many other fears just around not understanding something that, of course, they're going to say you're dramatic, you're overreacting, because everybody operates through their own lens of experience. And if I don't have a certain set of experiences, my lens are not capable of showing me your experiences, and that's reality. And that's okay. This is why we're talking about this, and this is why it's so fucked up that topics like this, hard discussions, are taboo, or, oh my god, you can't talk about this, oh my god, you're so controversial right now. Well, whatever. Let's be controversial. Like, this is why this shit needs to be talked about. Let's learn about it so that people stop saying these stupid things that they probably don't even mean, and hurting people along the way, hurting themselves because they're not getting the knowledge. People with anxiety are, driven closer to madness. Let's stop doing that. So we're going to keep communicating and keep cringing through this. And another big problem, anxiety is not real. And the biggest problem with this one is there's a very fine line between normal anxiety, and when I say normal anxiety, think you have a big presentation tomorrow and you're nervous. Of course you're nervous. You're about to go on a first date. You are getting ready to propose. You're getting ready to, I don't know, do something important to you, or something that you're nervous about. Of course you're going to be nervous. Of course you're going to feel anxious. But is it an anxiety disorder? Probably not. Because for most people, they feel nervous, and that's okay. That's a natural response to something that's potentially stressful. That is called adrenaline, fight or flight, normal. But the thing is, that response for most people comes in what we consider normal situations. It is normal to feel anxious before something that's potentially stressful. And then it passes. After that thing is over, you might worry a little bit about it afterwards, but once you get a grade, once you get a response, you react to it, and then you move on, and it's over. And the thing is, the word anxiety is thrown around so loosely these days. Anyone that feels nervous for half a second will say, oh my god, I have anxiety. But, most of the time they probably don't. And I think for me, in my experience, I've felt this normal anxiety, nervousness before. I remember before dance competitions, standing there before the music starts. I remember getting ready for first dates. I remember, waiting to hear back from a college that I applied to, or waiting to get a test result, or taking a test. And I remember those nerves and getting nervous and whatever. And then I remember them passing because it's normal. But anxiety disorders will hit you out of nowhere, about nothing, about no one, anywhere, anytime. It's irrational sometimes, but it seems perfectly logical. It's illogical and logical. It doesn't make sense, and it is 10 times stronger than that normal anxiety that I'm talking about. I can be sitting here having the most perfect day in my life, and all of a sudden, my brain will just have this casual thought of, you know what? What if the world just kind of ends right now? Or you know what? I don't think any of your friends actually like you. I think it's all just a prank show, and Ashton Kutcher's gonna pop out and say you've been punked for 26 years. Surprise, bitch. Like, irrational. Is it possible? Fucking maybe. I don't know. But irrational, illogical. And I know that. But in those moments of anxiety, my brain just constantly bombards me with, but do you know that? Is there a guarantee? And it's irrational and it hits me out of nowhere. There's no trigger, there's no physical stimuli, there's no presentation coming up, there's no nothing coming up. It just happens. And me describing it like that probably doesn't make much sense to anyone that doesn't have anxiety. You might look at me and say, well, how can that happen if you're having a perfectly good day? And the answer, I don't fucking know, dude. And once I figure it out, I will let you know. But sometimes my brain is a motherfucker. And I know that a lot of anxiety is a result of a lot of things. It's a multitude of factors. For me, it's probably past traumas. There's a chemical component. And, you know, I mean, those are probably the two biggest and most common ones. Trauma, chemical factor, like genetics, little things like that. Little things like that. I didn't mean to downplay it. They're really not little, and I understand that. Sorry. See, I have anxiety, and even I say shit like this. But what also sucks is being invalidated from people with anxiety as well. Is when someone says, I have anxiety, and you think you have that understanding, but then they're one of the ones who say some of this shit to you, and that sucks. That, like, it's like, I think this person's on my team. They're supposed to be on my side. They get this terrible thing that we both struggle with, yet they're also sitting here telling me I'm making it up. That just feels like a fucking betrayal, like worse than my brain. Yeah, I definitely feel like my brain has it out for me. I feel like my brain hates me. My brain is my best gift and worst enemy. I love writing. I love my ability to write music. I love playing music. I love everything my brain can do for me. But I also hate how it has the ability to just absolutely ruin my day. Sorry, I'm still a little stuffed up. Oh, cute. But I think at the end of it all, the stigma, the one thing that ties everything together, invalidation. That is the one thing that hurts the most. My handwriting sucks, but you get it. It's invalidation. It's being told you're voicing your concerns, you're struggling, and you're treated like it doesn't matter. And that sucks. And it hurts. Yeah. I think anyone that's ever felt invalidated in their life, felt like what they had to say wasn't good enough, or you feel afraid to say anything because you don't think anyone will listen, you've probably been invalidated, and I'm sorry that that's happened. It's shitty and it never should. I mean, even right now, I'm kind of afraid to be saying this stuff because I've been invalidated basically my whole life. A lot of anxiety. I grew up in a family that's very sweep your emotions under the rug. We don't talk about it. And I've heard all of those things from my own parents, the people that are supposed to love you. And when you hear that often from a young age, you start to believe it. And that's a shitty reality to grow up with. My parents and I are fine now, but there's still a lot of work that I need to do to erase that trauma that's been laid down and that belief that's been cemented that, you know what you have to say isn't good enough. And it's no one's fault. I don't sit here and I don't dwell on it, but I'm aware that that's the reality that I have. And I'm aware of the impact that that trauma had on me. And your comments of saying we aren't going anywhere is really nice, and I really appreciate it. But sometimes my brain is not in a place to accept it. And that's anxiety. That's the result of trauma. And it's no one's fault. It just is. So with that, here are some things not to say to somebody with anxiety. Okay. First one, and also these are all things I have heard in real life, real time. I've heard them said to me. I've heard them said to other people. And I'm pretty sure I've been the dumbass that said a few of these myself. The worst one, just cheer up. Thanks, Daryl. I hadn't thought of that. What? Just cheer up. Crazy. Get over it. seriously? You're fine. Oh, yeah, no, you're right. Me bawling and freaking out, hyperventilating. I'm fine. It's not a big deal. To you, asswipe. Think happy thoughts. Thanks, Susan from yoga class. How about you shove your mat up your ass? Just have a drink. Take a hit. Nap it off. First of all, drinking and drugs are not a healthy coping method, and I do not support those. I do, however, support root beers, naps, and Netflix. But something simple. Here's a Band-Aid for your anxiety. You'll be fine. You know what? It's not that simple. So please don't say those things, and don't come back with a, but I don't want to hear your but. I really don't, because I've heard these things, and you know what? I don't like hearing them. And if you're with somebody with anxiety, don't say those things to them. It's not helpful. I promise you. At least for me. There might be people with anxiety that hear these things and magically calm down. Oh, calm down. That's another fucking thing. If I hear the words calm down said to me, oh my god, if I wasn't mad before, bitch, I am now. Like, those are just things, they brush you off. They're invalidating. They don't take me seriously. Yeah, anyway, those things drive me nuts. Just obviously there's way more I can cover on stigma, way more I can talk about what not to say. But those are just the few that came to mind, the most common. And I also wanted to talk about coping. Sorry, Jesus. So I'm just gonna go over this very briefly because this could be a whole stream in and of itself. Coping. Something I learned is called STOP. And it's an acronym I learned in dialectical behavioral therapy, which is amazing. STOP stands for stop, think about it, observe, proceed mindfully. And in the moment, coping skills are like the hardest thing to do. But I have to say, having at least one off the top of my head, helpful. So helpful. Especially when it's the word stop, because I can be in the middle of a freaking rant and be freaking out, and if I remember stop, it physically stops me, and I'm like, okay, take a breath, because when I have an anxiety attack, I can't speak for everybody, I hyperventilate, decreases oxygen to my brain, so of course my body's gonna panic more. So when I stop, I breathe, think about it, but not too much, observe reality. Is it matching my thoughts right now? And then proceed mindfully. Don't do something you're gonna regret. And again, every coping skill I'm about to show you, I mean, literally like 2 or 3. Seriously, this could be a whole stream. Are very hard to pull out on the spot, but I think just having them available, even one, on hand is super helpful. And for me, honestly, even just having one is more effective than having like 8, because then I'm anxious over which one to choose. So that's for me when I'm alone. So what if I'm having anxiety and someone else is there? Here's one called WOW. For all you nerds out there, you can remember World of Warcraft or something. But what it stands for is, first, what went wrong? O, offer apology, and the last W is what's next. And again, learn this from DBT, Dialectical Behavioral Therapy. It's amazing, changed my life. There's a lot of skills, but this is the one that I have actually used with my dad. And this one is more partner focused. This is one that if you're experiencing anxiety when you're with somebody as a result of a comment someone made, or just in the presence of somebody, and you start having that conversation and then your anxiety builds and then they're unknowingly feeding into it or something, and it just this is a great tool to stop. Well, first, stop. And then talk about what I do with my dad is I set a timer for 5 minutes, and I got to talk and just said, this is what went wrong in my eyes. And then I set the timer for 5 minutes for him, and he talked for 5 minutes about what he thought went wrong. And then O, no timer. I offered my apologies. He offered his for specific things that we both mentioned. And then the last one, no timer, is we went back and forth. Okay, what's next? How do we move forward? And this has been the most helpful tool for partner-focused discussions, especially in the midst of anxiety attacks. It gives you a goal to focus on. It distracts you a little bit from your anxiety. So yeah, that is one. So there's a coping skill, stop for when you're alone, and then for when you're with somebody. And I think the biggest thing so one of the questions that I get a lot is, how do I best support you? And honestly, so what I was going to do was to end this stream by answering questions that I've gotten, but I decided to kind of go with this format, and then next week just basically answer all the questions I get about anxiety, because I got actually more than I thought. So I'm going to take another day, another week to collect more questions and then categorize, organize them, and then next week's stream will be answering every question in detail. So I'm kind of just covering a few here and there briefly. But the biggest thing I wanted to say to people this week for trying to figure out how to best support somebody is just to remember this. It is not about you. You could have been the one to say the comment. You could have been the one to set it off, trigger it, but at the end of the day, my anxiety is not about you. It's not. You might be the person that triggered it. You might be the person that's there, but anxiety is a beast all on its own. And if you feel like you are responsible for that person's anxiety, the best thing to do is to just say something like, what can I do best for you in this moment? And the worst thing to do is to say, oh my God, I fucked up, and you make it all about you, and then you have burdened me with the task of reassuring you. And then me with anxiety, not wanting you to hate me, will pause my anxiety attack to reassure you. And you know how fucking selfish that is of you, to make me reassure you while I'm panicking? Like, that's not cool. And the thing is, a lot of people don't realize they do this because they freak out and they don't want to hurt the person. They genuinely want to help. But by saying things like, oh my God, I fucked up, or oh my God, this, that, and woe is me, you are inadvertently pulling the attention onto you. You're forcing me to focus on you. And you know what? I just don't have time for that. And I don't have energy for that. And if you are not grown enough to accept, okay, you know what? Yes, I fucked up, but they are hurting and I'm going to be here for them, then get the fuck out of my life, okay? Like, I don't have time to reassure you. And I think the best thing I've done for myself is to run out of fucks to give for people like that. So now, if I have an anxiety attack and I'm like, okay, I need a minute, and I'm not always perfect, believe me, I have fucked up and yelled and said stupid shit, and I still do, and I probably will still. But if I hear someone say something and start the woe is me, I don't know where the fuck I got this courage, but I'll stop them and say, you know what? It's not about you. My anxiety has never been about you. And I'm sorry you don't understand that, but I don't have the energy to explain it to you. So, I need to go deal with my thing. You clearly can't be here for me right now, and I can't be there for you because I need to deal with myself right now. And then I take my space. And then once I'm in a better headspace, I can go back and say, okay, I have the mental energy. If you'd like to continue the discussion, let's have a discussion. But I will not join a fucking pity party. And me with anxiety, I don't like to throw myself pity parties either. And a lot of my friends are good at like, hey, you are not like, you know, you're better than this. But, okay, you're better than this is not a good phrase either. But more along the line of, hey, we're capable of better discussion, so let's do that. That is a way better way of saying, you're better than this, because by saying you're better than this, you're implying that, hey, you're acting like shit right now, and that doesn't feel good to hear when you're struggling. So yeah, that's really the biggest tip I can offer to any partners, anybody that has a friend, a partner, anybody who struggles with anxiety, is just to know it's not about you. And even if you understand it, don't make it about you. Anxiety is anxiety, and it's a beast on its own. And the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter if you're there or not. It's gonna come. If it's not you triggering it today, it'll be someone else. Like, the thing with anxiety is, nobody's special. You're not special, sis. Sorry. Literally anybody could have triggered my anxiety the exact same way you did just now. It is not about you. It is just my brain. And that's that. And that's hard to accept for a lot of people, especially selfish ones. As humans, we're pretty egotistical. And I'm probably being really harsh, but that's the reality I've seen. And that's something I've had to deal with. A lot of people making it about themselves. And I have spent way too long reassuring those people. So that's why I'm sitting here now telling you, hopefully, you don't have to go through that same bullshit I did. And hopefully, you get the courage to stand up for yourself a hell of a lot faster than I did. Because it is freeing to tell those people, I don't have energy for you right now. I gotta take care of me. Because the longer I've had anxiety, I'm still scared of it, I'll admit that. But I'm not as scared of it anymore. I am way too familiar with it. Not in every form. Every time I feel it and meet it, it's in a new form. But I'm learning how to meet it, how to greet it, how to deal with it. That is all I can do. And that is all any of us can do with our anxiety. You face it head on. Worst thing to do is to run from it and pretend it doesn't exist. I mean, the worst thing to do is to do these things to yourself and validate yourself. It's not real. It's this. It's that. Because all of these just gaslight you. That's, I mean, honestly, like, fuck this. We don't need this invalidation. We really don't. I feel like a lot of people with anxiety get gaslighted, and that term is used in so many situations. But gaslighting essentially is when someone tells you your reality is not real. And I feel like that happens to people with anxiety way more than we want to admit. When someone's having an anxiety attack and they hear something like, get over it, it's not a big deal, it's not real, you're kind of gaslighting them because you're telling them your reality is not real. And then that makes the person with anxiety, at least for me, makes me question myself. It makes me feel crazy and it drives me mad. And you know what? With anxiety, I already feel fucking crazy because I know what I'm thinking is illogical. I know it's irrational. And I really don't need you telling me my reality is not real, because in that moment, it feels real. And in that moment, it feels logical. And I know that it is not logical. I know it's not real, and I know it's not rational. But in that moment, it is. And I need you to treat me like it is. Because if you just treat me like it's not, I can barely grasp that it's real in that moment. And with you telling me it's not real, I just feel more crazy. And then I lose my grip even more. So please stop gaslighting people with anxiety and telling them it's not real and they're being dramatic and overreacting. Because there's no such thing as overreacting. They're simply reacting. And if you don't like that person's reaction, well, fuck you, you know? There's no such thing as reacting, especially with anxiety. It might look like overreacting to other people, but you're simply reacting to the stimuli presented. And it might not make sense to other people, but if it makes sense to you in that moment, that's okay. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else in order for it to be real. And that's the thing with anxiety. And that's so hard to accept for yourself, is that even when other people don't understand it and they tell you it's not real, you know what? To you it is. And that's what matters. And I believe you. I don't know everybody on here, but I believe you. I get it. And I wanted to end the stream. I don't actually know how long it's been going. I don't actually know. Oh. But how can someone help in this situation? Good question. And I will definitely be going into that a lot next week. But the biggest way to help, skills like I talked about, that it is not about you, is a huge thing to remember. Don't make it about you. And the best thing to ask someone with anxiety, especially in the moment, is to say something like, what can I do for you right now in this moment? Speak in a calm voice. Don't fluctuate your tone, because I promise we'll read into it. And if they say nothing, or they say, I don't know, I don't know, the best thing, at least for me, is for you to just sit there next to me and just be with me and listen. Don't interrupt. Don't sit there and tell me everything will be fine, just cheer up, Just be there with me and be comfortable in the silence with me. And when I am ready to talk and the storm inside of me has calmed down just a little bit, I will be ready to talk. And when I am, just listen and let me get from point A to Z, however long it takes. And I'll definitely talk about that a lot more next week, but that is a great question. And I wanted to end the stream. If there's more questions, I can definitely try and answer. I just don't know how long it's been going. I don't want to bore anybody. How do I check how long it's been going? Oh god, 41 minutes. Ooh! Okay. I don't see new questions, and that's okay. But I will definitely be collecting them throughout the week. I might consider like setting up an email or something so people can email if they, because I don't know how to like message people on Twitch. I don't know how to like, I don't know, I'm still figuring out Twitch. I can't even stream from my computer because I don't know how to set up the fucking software. But I will definitely be collecting questions all of next week, posting it on my Facebook and everything, and then just compiling them and going through them. But I wanted to end the stream with a little bit of hope so that you don't walk away thinking, God damn, what the fuck can I do? Like, there's nothing to do. Yes, there is. There's plenty to do. And I will definitely talk about it more next week for sure. But a great resource, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. It's like, I can't read that backwards. But this is a great phone number. They're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they are free. And the phone number, I'm told it is not mirrored for you, but it is mirrored for me. 800, I think that's a 6, 7, 3, 8, 6. I want to say 5, or a 2. 5. Oh my god, that's a 2, not a 6. 800-273-8255. There you go. And you can Google it. It's super easy. I've actually called them once and they were very helpful. Yeah, this is good for anxiety attacks. Really just anytime if you're feeling suicidal or anything or just need someone to talk to. There's also a teen version of this, and I believe it's just called Teen Suicide Hotline, and I used to call that one all the time as well. And another resource is called Crisis Text Line, and this is their number, 741-741. You can text HOME, you can text BRAVE, you can text HI. Before I started volunteering there, yes, I volunteered there and am trained and certified and everything. You can text whatever you want. Before I was trained and certified with them, I used to text them, actually, quite a bit. And I thought they did great. So those are 2 resources that are free, accessible to anybody with a phone. And if you don't have a phone, I believe there's online resources and forums you can go to, Facebook groups. I'm part of a Facebook group. Yay, I'm glad the crisis line worked for somebody. And there's Facebook groups as well. I am part of one called Suicide Attempt Survivors Support Group. There's multiple groups like that. Yeah, so that is an intro on anxiety. And again, I can talk about this forever and ever and ever and ever, and you'll never run out of things to talk about because every anxiety attack is so different. But I think this is a good start, and we have the conversation going, and hopefully you learn something, and hopefully you're thinking about something, and if it made you reflect on maybe your actions, or maybe places where you've gone wrong in the past. Don't beat yourself up too hard. It's okay. It is what it is, and that's why we're having this conversation. We're not here to shame anybody. I am not here to be like, how dare you, or put you down, or anything like that. We're here to learn. We're here to grow. I have said all of those things before. I have been Susan in yoga class who said, think happy thoughts. I get it. And the best thing you can do is to learn, grow, improve. That's the best thing you can do for anybody, for especially if you are with a loved one with anxiety. Grow, learn, improve. Best thing you can do for me. Yeah. Hopefully there's something you walked away with that is good. Or, I don't know, you can laugh at the fact that my bed is not made. My kitty's the real star of the show. She's right there. There's my bucket from me being sick and all my tissues. You know, it's fine. There's literally a tissue box in my bed that I've been sleeping next to because I've been so stuffed up. But yeah. So thanks for listening to my stream on anxiety. Hopefully it didn't make you too anxious. I actually feel a lot better talking about it. And that's why these discussions are important. So yeah, next week, 6 o'clock, I will just be answering all the questions I get. Might set up an email. I don't know. Probably not, just because there's not... I don't know how to use Twitch. I'll figure it out. But there's a link to my blog where I write about depression and anxiety on my profile. So you can just click it. It's glimpseofsanity.wordpress.com. And yeah, I'll be back next week. And I hope you have a great night and even better week. Thanks. Okay. Now this is where I fucking drop my phone because I can't. Shit. Every goddamn time.